Talk to me about where things are with the debt ceiling. First off, have you or anyone in Democratic leadership heard anything from the Republican majority when it comes to either the debt ceiling, but more importantly, the budget?
What we are hearing from our Republican colleagues is an absolute commitment to defaulting on our bills. And this is a manufactured crisis that the cost of which are going to be borne by the American people. This is very dangerous political theater that the Republicans are engaging in. And it is very telling that Speaker McCarthy is going to Wall Street, not Main Street, to make his announcements. But let's be clear, it is the American people and Main Street businesses that are going to pay for this. It will be Social Security recipients, Medicare, our veterans benefits that are at risk. Here in Massachusetts, just getting close to default could increase mortgages by $250 a month. And that's repeated across the country. Credit card interest rates can go up. Car loans will go up as much as $800. And the last time they played this brinksmanship, the average American close to retirement lost $20,000 in savings. So this political theater, this irresponsible threatening to default our country's credit is going to be borne by the American people and will really hurt our economy and will hurt families' budgets.
So let's speak specifically. That's on the debt ceiling, which am I correct in my understanding that Democrats don't want to deal with the debt ceiling and the budget as one conversation? These are two discrete things that need to be handled separately. But one of the things we know that Speaker McCarthy and the Republican majority want to do is, cut non-defense discretionary spending. One of the things they want to do is to put work requirements on food stamps. I said in the intro that these were non-starters for Democrats. Can you confirm that?
This is what I can tell you, is that we need to hold a vote on Monday when we return to Congress on a clean debt ceiling. Why? Because that's our fundamental responsibility. It is what we did 3 times under Donald Trump, where he ran up a quarter of all the deficit that we face in this country. And that is what people do as responsible bill payers in this country every single day. That's what we have to do as Congress. We are willing to have a conversation about the budget and the appropriations process like we do every day. But what the Republicans are doing are trying to conflate these two issues. And who is going to lose? It's the American people. This will drive up costs. It will damage our economy. It will damage the global economy and the standing of the dollar around the world if they continue along this dangerous path. So let's drop the extremism, do the right thing by people. Let's go back to the first bill that the extremists in the Republican majority passed. It was saying it is okay again to allow tax cheats, the very wealthy, to avoid paying their fair share. This is the Republican policy. Tax cuts for the very wealthy and the largest corporations at the expense of working families in this country.
So Whip Clark, clearly the hammer is out on Republicans in terms of their extremism. Let's pivot and talk about something else that has been a target, and that's abortion. Since you've been in recess, there have been conflicting rulings on an abortion pill, and the Supreme Court is reviewing the case this week to see if it'll stand. As we all know, 64% of Americans think this should be legal and accessible. So the question, Whip Clark, is what, if anything, is Congress planning to do in case the Supreme Court says, yeah, the Texas ruling stands and mifepristone is basically banned?
Yeah, Jonathan, you're absolutely right. The American people understand that the Republican extremists are going for a national abortion ban, and that is the opportunity they see coming out of the federal court in Texas that is now before the Supreme Court. They see this as another important milestone in their march to totally ban abortion in this country. And what the American people know is that there is no freedom, there is no equality when politicians are controlling these most personal decisions around having children. These decisions should be left to women, to families, in consultation with their doctors and their faith. Full stop. So we are going to continue as Democrats to do everything we can, working with the Biden administration to protect this right. You see 240 Democrats signing an amicus brief saying that this is not only another dangerous step towards a full abortion ban to making women second-class citizens, it is also an attack on every single medication that has been approved by the FDA and saying science doesn't matter here anymore. What matters is an ideology of MAGA extremists.
And Whip Clark, I want to get to two things in the 90 seconds that we have left. Gun control legislation. We have seen mass shootings in Nashville, in Louisville, and those are the two that have gotten national attention. What, if anything, can be done to exert the will of the majority of the American people, which is they want to do something that is now the leading cause of death of children in this country, gun violence?
That's right. Take that in. The leading cause of death of children is gun violence. And we are having children who are being raised traumatized by having to do live shooter drills in their schools, watching the news thinking, will I be next? We have the solutions. We have to choose our kids over guns. And we know that we can do this. This is a policy choice that Republicans have made. They have decided to put assault weapons over everything else. We need to do universal background checks. We need to ban these guns of war that don't belong in our schools, on our streets, in our houses of worship, and in our movie theaters, and everywhere else where families and Americans gather. We have the ability to reduce gun violence in this country. We saw a first and crucial step, but the first in 30 years this past June. We need to continue on that work.
Whip Clark, this weekend marks the 10th anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. Tomorrow, the city will be hosting the race. Just your thoughts on this very somber anniversary.
Yeah, I was very privileged and honored to be able to take part in honoring the life and memory of Crystal Campbell, who was a constituent of mine, whose life was lost, and we had many of the survivors there. And the message for them is clear, and one that the American people are hungry for, and one we're not seeing coming out of the extremism in the Republican Party. And that's one of unity. In the face of a senseless act of violence, we saw Boston come together, Boston strong, one Boston, choosing neighbors, choosing unity, choosing peace. And that's what the American people want. They want us to come together, and they are tired of the Republicans who are trying to lead by dividing us, lead through fear and anger. We're going to continue to choose unity. We are going to continue to choose our neighbors. And that's the message coming out of Boston Marathon on this somber 10th anniversary.
House Minority Whip Katherine Clark, Congresswoman Clark of Massachusetts, thank you very much for coming back to the Sunday Show.